I grew up in a family of five boys. I was the number two son. Both parents were at our home, and we were raised in a devout Catholic family. I was taught at an early age by my parents about having high moral standards, and to them, our religious education was very important, and so they sent us all to Catholic school. We went to Catholic school from first to eighth grade. And there, they would teach you math and science and English and social studies and religion. It was just part of the curriculum. So I remember being taught about God, about Jesus, about the Ten Commandments. And I think I was raised with kind of a holy fear, maybe a healthy holy fear of God. And that was my sense about it. So I knew a lot about God, but I didn't know God. It's almost like if you were to ask somebody or ask me if I know Steph Curry. And I could say, oh yeah, the Warriors, point guard, two-time MVP, three-point king. There's a lot about Steph Curry I know. But if I was at Starbucks and one day Steph Curry walked in the place, he wouldn't come over and say, hey Dave, good to see you. Man, I haven't seen you in a long time. I want to thank you for teaching me that behind the back pass. It's come in handy a lot of times. That's the conversation we'd never have, because I know about Steph Curry, but I have no relationship with Steph Curry. And that's kind of how it was with God and I, growing up through probably into my teen years. And then when I was a sophomore in high school, Young Life came to Antioch, and it was an organization kind of devoted to helping teenagers get to know Jesus. And so the clubs that they had were fun. A lot of people went, and the girls were really cute. So I made it a habit of attending Young Life on a regular basis. But I really, in some ways in the back of my head, I just felt like it wasn't for me because I was already a Christian. But these other people probably would need it. And I still remember a critical time when I was a senior in high school. We went to winter camp. And at the end of the camp, one of my friends named Dave Andrews, he stood up and he gave this quick little story. He basically said, well, this weekend I became a follower of Jesus. And I was shocked. I was going, my world was rocked. I was thinking, Dave, what are you talking about? You've known Jesus all your life. What are you talking about? How can you say you just did it this weekend at the camp? But he explained that he didn't know Jesus personally. He just knew about him. And as I listened to him, I was thinking, well, if you're not a believer, then maybe I'm not a believer. And that was like rocking my world. And I remember for weeks after that camp, just wrestling with that whole concept, whether or not, because I knew I had never personally asked Jesus into my life. I'd never made a commitment to him personally, just me and him. That had never happened. And I was very aware of that. And God was after me. I mean, he was chasing me down and I was running. And the reason I was running was this. I was too proud because I was a people pleaser. And I always wanted to make people like me. And I just remember thinking, well, what if I tell people that I just became a believer and all this time I've been thinking I was, and how embarrassing is that going to be? And what will they think of me? They'll think I was a hypocrite or something like that. And so I couldn't bring myself to do it because I knew I couldn't do it secretly. I'd have to tell people. And I was just running from God. And I remember one night laying in bed, and I'm not praying, but I'm just in torment in my mind about, do I do this? Do I not do this? And I just remember wrestling and arguing both sides of the case, and just like I was in anguish, to be honest with you. And so all of a sudden, and it was the first time it had ever happened in my life, all of a sudden, God spoke to me in a very clear, audible voice in my head. Now, if you were in the room, you wouldn't have heard him. But I heard him loud and clear. He broke right across all my thinking, all my grumbling. And he just said these words to me. He said, is it more important that you please them or please me? And I remember at first I was just shocked that God spoke. And then when I realized what he said, it just cut through all the barriers in my heart. And I said, okay, I give up. I'll do it. I surrender to you. I surrender to you. And I remember lying in bed, and all of a sudden I just broke down crying. There was such a sense of relief There was such a sense of joy. I had peace coming over my whole body. I felt just this warmth come over me. I had a sense of just being loved by God. I was amazed. I was like, what is going on right now? But I was so much enjoying it. I just laid there and cried and just enjoyed the moment with God where he was loving me. And that was a first of many times that would happen. But I just remember the last thing I was thinking before I went to sleep that night was, oh, I hope this feeling remains in the morning. And I woke up in the morning, and that peace and joy was there. And I didn't know it at the time, but that was the presence of the Holy Spirit in me. And I didn't understand all that at that time. But at that point in time, it was a radical change for my life. That was a turning point that has catapulted me in the direction I've gone ever since. It changed the professions, whether it helped me get into teaching, it helped me just the way I raised my family, it helped me survive tough times. Many of you might know my wife died a year ago, and just having God with me, having Jesus as a close friend during that time has been a great comfort for me. And so I just wanted to let you know a little bit about my story. I have never regretted making that decision years ago. It was the best thing I've ever done in my life.